Welcome to our deals of the week. We got a good one this week. It is in the south side of St. Pete in a neighborhood called Lakewood Estates. It's really cool. But first, let's go through. We're in a buyer's market now. There's no doubt about that. And you have to start using your leverage when it comes to the situation. So let's go through our rules for buying in a buyer's market. Number one, if it's been on the market 45 days, 5% under asking or more. You got to give a reality check to these sellers. Some of them are not realizing where they're at. Number two, try to stick with established neighborhoods to the best of your ability. There's more upside, and they're going to be easier to sell if you find yourself in a situation where you need to sell at some point. Number three, stick with lower maintenance properties. Look for newer roof, AC. We want to avoid insurance issues at this point. We want to keep costs as low as possible. And number four, look for broad appeal features. Again, in case you have to sell before you might want to, you want an easy house to sell. That's a 3-2, a 2-2. 2-1s are going to be a little bit difficult. Obviously, this is subject to your budget. Obviously, if you can't swing a 4-2 or a 3-2, then you're going to buy what you can. But try to find houses with normal layouts and broad appeal features if you can. So let's just jump into this Lakewood Estates house. And let's take a look at where it is first if you're not familiar with the neighborhood. It's in the south end of St. Pete. And I'll zoom out here so you can kind of get a feel for it. You see the orange diamond here in the middle. We're just a few minutes from Pinellas Point, which is the very southern tip of St. Pete. And by interstate, we're about 10, 15 minutes to downtown, 15 minutes to the beaches. You're really close to the interstate here. So once you jump on that, you can get all the way over to Tampa in about 45 minutes. So this is a really pretty good location. And let's look at the house now. It's a 3-2 with almost 1,600 square feet. So pretty good size. If you're on your computer, the smart thing to do when you look at these descriptions, because I start to zone out when I read sort of flowery descriptions, is do a Control F on your keyboard and just type in new, and it'll highlight the new stuff here. We've got a new roof, refrigerator, washer, dishwasher, and water heater. The new flooring was put in 2023. The AC is from 2017. So pretty good situation there. Type in flood, and here they've highlighted there's no flood insurance required, but we'll double check that to make sure that it is in the flood zone X, because this is the south side of St. Pete. It's a little more floody as you get closer to the water, but Lakewood Estates is kind of in the center. So let's take a look at the pictures. This is kind of a classic St. Pete style house. Pretty nice curb appeal, nice photography here, and you can get a feel for where it is. It is on I believe it's the 6th fairway. So you've got nobody across the street. There's a green across the street. And then no backyard neighbors either. So you're kind of tucked in there. Nice open layout, very mature landscaping outside. Another drone shot of the golf course there. Nice, good sized living room. This house looks like it's been very, very well kept. Good size primary suite as well. And you can see there's three doors for the closet here. So it gives you some indication of the size of this room. And then also one of the things to look for as you're going through listings yourself is when you see these, first of all, look for the white frame windows. So at least they've been replaced at some point, as opposed to the old aluminum crank out windows, which are not very efficient at all. And this thicker frame here tells me that we may be looking at impact windows. So we'll double check that. That would be a big selling point to have impact windows on a house this size. Is not cheap, probably 20 grand or so. Primary bathroom, decent size. A galley kitchen, maybe not everybody's taste. I don't know there's much you can do here because you need the space. I don't know, blowing out a wall here and opening it up, you'd lose a lot of this. So, but looks like nice cabinets, granite countertops. Again, very well maintained. And then off the kitchen is this dining area. You kind of have a little sort of sofa, but there's also kind of a more formal dining area, which is nice because it's got almost floor-to-ceiling windows back here. One thing I'm not crazy about is this these acoustical tiles on the ceiling here. I mean, that was pretty popular years ago. You don't see it that much anymore. If this was going to be me, I'd probably get rid of those. I mean, they look like they're in really nice shape, but I'd probably get rid of them and just put drywall up there with a nice texture or something. So nice, bright, airy house. The bedrooms look really pretty good size. This is a typical bathroom in the old St. Pete houses that were built in the 50s. But it looks like it's in very nice shape. A nice living area here. And then this is kind of an odd, the door outside and a toilet tucked between a washer and a dryer. I don't know what's behind that curtain there. But there are two full bathrooms. This is obviously sort of a modified half bath. And a really nice big screen porch off the back. And you can see it was probably where this beam is. That's probably the original size of it. And then they added on to this screen porch. So nice sized, really mature landscaping. And when you see the aerial view, you'll get a feel for kind of how, I mean, you're on a golf course, and this is a better picture. Because if you look at the house next door, they've got one little tree, and then they're completely exposed to the golf course. This is almost surrounded by these beautiful mature trees and shrubs and everything. So you kind of feel tucked away in there. And let me just bounce back because this gives you an idea. The downtown is at the top here. So you're about 15 minutes away by interstate. So let's take a look at some of the other stats for this house. The crime score, according to what's my crime risk, is a 3 out of 10, which is considered low. Flood factor, it says 1 out of 10, but it's an X flood zone, so you would not be required to get flood insurance. Now, price-wise, this is a very good pricing strategy by this listing agent here, and you'll see why here in a second. They put it on the market back in July, and then they were under contract a couple of months later, and that fell through, and they went back on the market. So they started lowering the price incrementally, and then in October, they were under contract again at $479. We don't know what the offer price is. And then they lowered it once more since. So they're kind of feeling their way to the market price of this house. And I sense that they're getting close because they've already been under contract twice. So at $300 a square foot in Lakewood Estates on the whole is average $288 a square foot. So it's a little bit higher than the average, but it's all based on condition. There are plenty of houses in there that haven't been updated in a long time. They're going to sell for much less, obviously. So this is certainly not out of the range at this point. It's been on the market 95 days. I'm going to tell you, I like it at, say, $450, which would give us $282 a square foot. Who knows if they're going to go down that far from $477? But, again, when you're scanning the description, instead of getting caught up in the flowery language, look for things like this: reasonable offer, open to reasonable offer, and motivated seller. That to me always says, we're not going to go in at this price. We're going to go in somewhere less. So, we might be looking at somewhere in the 460 range, 455 range, which I think would be a pretty good deal. So leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this one. This is what I consider a very, very solid 3-2 block home with a lot of newer stuff in it at a reasonable price given the market. Of course, we'd like it a little bit lower. Let me know if you think this one is priced about right. Do me a favor, subscribe to the channel as well, if you will, so you're notified of our new deals of the week. And of course, if you're thinking about buying or selling in St. Pete or the Tampa Bay area, give me a call, send me a text, shoot me an email. Love to help you out. That's our deal of the week. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.